Congresswoman, it's great to see you, and more importantly, it's great to see you safe. You've had a busy week here. You were swatted not once, but twice. For those who are watching, can you explain what swatting is and what exactly happened to you in your own home?
Well, it's something that shouldn't happen. As a matter of fact, this is more like political terrorism. But someone, it's being investigated right now. Someone called the 911 center and reported basically a murder at my house, and made the situation sound very real, very serious. They said there were children in my home, and they laid out a scenario that there would be more violence, potentially suicide or murder. So what that did is that sent the police to my house, tactically prepared for a very serious situation. Of course, I didn't make the call, so I was sound asleep when the police showed up just after 1 o'clock in the morning and frightened me because, of course I didn't call the police. I was sound asleep. Went to the door to a scene I did not expect. And of course, they're meeting me to something they didn't expect. So it's very dangerous. Swatting gets people killed by accident, death by police. Police officers will show up thinking they're responding to a very serious situation where in fact nothing has happened. And people do this to their enemies. They do this to someone they want to murder. They want to do this to someone they want to get killed. And the whole reason it happened to me is because I have introduced legislation that will protect children from this horrific agenda. I mean, just the evil left that is wanting to confuse kids and get them to do the unthinkable. Surgeries, hysterectomies, double mastectomies, castration, hormone therapies, puberty blockers to change their gender before 18, before they're even old enough to vote, join the military, buy tobacco, buy alcohol, and make real adult decisions. So it is very terrifying and it's very serious.
Yeah, that it is. And speaking of that agenda, the child sex change movement likes to use inflammatory and over-the-top rhetoric, where they basically say that if a kid doesn't transition, they're likely to kill themselves and it'll be the parents' or others' responsibility. When rhetoric like that is put out there by the White House, some of your colleagues in Congress, I can see how crazy people are led to do crazy things like what just happened at your home. So my question to you is, do you lay any blame at the feet of those pushing that rhetoric out of the White House or others in Congress?
Yeah, absolutely. Not only do I lay blame at the feet of my Democrat colleagues, I experience unbelievable attacks in my office building, even by a chief of staff, Democrat Congressman Jake Auchincloss. His chief of staff, Tim Heisem, has been arrested by Capitol Police for vandalizing a sign I have outside of my office that says there's only two genders, male and female. And he's been arrested by Capitol Police, but he has not been fired from his job. He still works in my office building, and it's a very toxic, unsafe environment for me. That is inside Longworth. But outside of Longworth, the media has attacked me repeatedly over and over again. They have lies in their headlines saying that I'm somehow targeting trans kids, which is not true at all. I'm trying to protect children. And so, all of this brings this type of hate against me, which is completely unwarranted and obviously could get me killed.
Yes, absolutely. And on that note, I noticed yesterday that the White House singled you out in a tweet saying that basically since you participated in the Paycheck Protection Program, you had no right to oppose the student loan just bailout giveaway on constitutional action. And this is just a mere hours after your home was swatted. So what do you make of that additional targeting at that time from a White House official?
Now, remember, this is the same government that shut down our country. They shut down businesses, made it impossible for people to do work. We own a construction company, which it was supposedly essential, but you can't continue to do work on your job sites when government inspectors won't come out and sign off on the job so you can continue doing work. That is an assault from the government on private business. So that you can't even compare the two. Student loan debt forgiveness is forgiving loans that people willingly took out. These are students that took out loans, hundreds of thousands of dollars, so they could go to Ivy League colleges and pursue a college education. That's an intentional choice to take out a loan versus a government shutdown of the economy and business. It's night and day difference, and the White House will do anything to attack their political enemies. And they attack the American people every single day with their assault on our freedoms and our Constitution. Look at the Biden White House, wide open borders. They have ruined our economy, inflation out of control. They're destroying our American energy independence. Here they are wrecking our ability to feel safe on the streets. Crime is out of control. Fentanyl is the #1 cause of death in young people ages 18 to 45. And now the sick and disgusting Biden administration, the Democrats, not only do they support abortion up until the day of birth, but they also want to brainwash and influence kids into cutting their breast off before they're even an adult, being castrated before they're old enough to serve in the military, and doing the unthinkable damage to their body that they'll live with for forever. And so, you know what I have to say to the Biden administration? Probably words I shouldn't say on this interview, but I really don't care what they have to say. I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing, and that is fighting to protect kids, fighting to protect their identity, which is God made them. God made them in his image. He made them male and female in his image. And I'll fight for that all day long.
That's great. And that's exactly why they're coming after you. It's because you're right over the target. Now, I know the media has basically blocked out any real coverage of these incidents at your house. If this happened to a Democrat member of Congress, it would be a block out the sun media event and relentless coverage. You see nothing if you Google this, which is outrageous to me. I see the political games being played out of the White House, but I really hope that federal law enforcement is taking this as seriously as they should be. So to that end, has the FBI reached out to you yet?
There is a serious federal investigation going on. I can't give too much detail on it, but it's multiple law enforcement agencies. They are taking this very, very serious, and it should be taken serious. This person, or whoever this is, a group of people, tried to assassinate a member of Congress, and that's me. And shame on the mainstream media for not covering it. It is unreal they won't cover it. If this was AOC, if this was Nancy Pelosi, if this was any Democrat member of Congress, it would be wall-to-wall coverage, 24/7, and they would have a security detail immediately. Guess what? They haven't even given me a security detail, and they have no intention of doing so.
Now, I think I already know the answer to this question, but has Nancy Pelosi or anyone from congressional leadership reached out to check in on your safety?
No one on the Democrat side. I have heard from Kevin McCarthy and Steve Scalise reaching out. Many Republican colleagues of mine reaching out and asking if I'm okay, which I very much appreciate it. And, that's a good thing. I think there will be a big change in how Congress works when we take back the majority and take back control in January.
Well, we certainly hope. And so let me ask you a question about this. If conservatives take back the House of Representatives and the gavel switch and y'all are in the majority, what's on top of your agenda for oversight and investigations?
Oh, gosh, that one's tough. I have multiple things. I think one of the most important things we need to investigate is COVID-19. Dr. Fauci, the origins of the virus, gain of function research, and where American tax dollars went to it. I also want to investigate the vaccines. The vaccine mandates were completely unconstitutional, and people being forced to take a vaccine that they should have never had to have been forced to take is so wrong, in my opinion. I have a bill called Justice for Vaccine Victims, and it's a really important bill. It will investigate all of the reports on VAERS, vaccine injuries and deaths. And I think that needs to be investigated, as well as Pfizer's liability protection needs to be removed. But we need to go further than that. We need to look into what is happening at the border. We have terrorists coming across. We have deadly drugs coming across daily. We have illegals coming into our country, and we don't even know who they are. And then another thing we need to investigate is Afghanistan. The failure in Afghanistan is unforgivable. For the Biden administration to arm the Taliban with $85 billion of U.S. military equipment and weapons is beyond words. And then 13 of our soldiers being killed. And we still don't know the truth about that attack. I think there's a lot more there. Another thing we need to do is investigate where our money is going in Ukraine. I voted no to every single one of those bills sending money to Ukraine. It's a proxy war with Russia. that I think America has no business in, especially when we're ignoring the invasion at our own border. If we don't care about our border, then how in the world are we spending billions and billions of dollars protecting another country's border? That's not to say that we don't care about people across the world. We definitely care about people, but we're doing our own people a complete injustice by not caring about our own borders. But in all reality, though, the money that needs to be tracked is the money going into these climate scams. You see that they're allotting so much taxpayer dollars to these climate scams. It's like, well, who does it go to? Where does it go? And what is it doing? It's only destroying our American energy independence. But I think one thing we can do, and no one's talking about it, is we need to declare George Soros an enemy of the state. He is an enemy of America, and we need to make sure that we kick George Soros out, his son out, and all of his money that is affecting and destroying our country, because he's one of the greatest enemies we have. But I think we have to tell Republicans that they have to get very serious in order to do things like this. They talk about investigating Hunter Biden and his crimes, but it has to be more than just investigating. We have to move beyond a Congress that just does panel investigations on our committees and puts up our 5-minute C-SPAN clips on television for likes and shares. We have to be a Republican-controlled Congress that actually brings accountability and brings justice for all of the injustice that's happening. And another thing I'd like to see is I really want to look into what's happening with these January 6th pretrial defendants. To me, that's one of the most horrific things I've seen. We have a two-tier justice system in America where Antifa, BLM rioters are let free and all their charges are completely dropped. But yet people, grandmothers who went and walked around inside the Capitol, who they pay for, by the way, with their tax dollars, get locked up and they're held in jail. It's absurd. Their due process rights are violated. And I can say that willingly as a victim of the riot on January 6th, because I was in the Capitol when that happened and I wasn't happy about it. But, it's hard for me to pick one. So I just gave you a list, and I'm really hoping Republicans get to work on those things.
Yes, absolutely. You'll have at least 4 years of investigating to do, crammed into the next 2 years of probably, the worst administration we've seen in the history of this country. So I'm glad that you sound like you're up to the task and ready to roar. One last final question here on the news of the day. I'm sure you saw Mark Zuckerberg go on Joe Rogan's podcast and admit that the FBI pressured them to censor the Hunter Biden laptop story. What do you make of that? I know you've been on this issue for a while. And secondly, do you think some of your colleagues who say we can't look backwards at the 2020 election, we only have to talk about the next one, you think this will finally change people's minds that something nefarious happened there?
I think everyone knows. I'm not one of those people that runs around in political circles. All my friends are not in Washington. As a matter of fact, most of my friends are right here in Georgia or across the country. All I talk to is regular Americans every single day. We all know what went on. There's no denial among the people. It's just denial in the media and big tech and in Washington, D.C. Those are the ones in denial. But I think we have a very serious, I think that is true corruption and abuse of power when the White House or anyone that's elected can collude. That's true collusion, right? Colluding with big tech like Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook and actually suppressing information in order to affect an election. I think people should go to jail for that. And I think that's something that we really seriously need to work on.
Here. I mean, that's absolutely it. We cannot have free and fair elections with that kind of behavior going on, collusion between these big tech companies and the deep state. Well, Congresswoman, I'm going to let you go here. Thank you very much for coming on. We at Heritage are so glad you're safe and absolutely condemn in no uncertain terms these radical leftists and their attacks on your home. So stay safe.
Thank you very much. It was good to talk to you today.